Hello, welcome to another day that was not promised, another opportunity to right your wrongs. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and welcome to the Open Mic Broadcast Network in this episode of the Mike Prince Show. We come to you daily, we come to you consistently, and we come to you with nothing but love. In particular, to my beloved Prairie View A&M University, Southwestern Athletic Conference, and much, much more. You can follow me on Twitter at Radio Guy. Instagram is Radio Guy 22. The website is obn-radio.com. I thank you all for your support. I thank you all for your continued listening. And I thank you all for recognizing that what we do is from the heart. And without any further ado, let us join today's episode. The day after Ashley Robinson announces that he will be leading the charge for Jackson State University athletic program in Jackson, Mississippi, a lot of people are buzzing and scratching their heads, some in disbelief, some ecstatic, some bewildered. And whichever side of the fence you're on, that's on you. But what I want us to recognize, and what I want us to be very conscious of, is that this was no surprise to us here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I told you on yesterday, and I was able to find the episode, and it's going to speak for itself. Before I get into it, I want to paint the picture. It's December 11th. 2017. Jackson State releases their athletic director. The excerpts you are about to hear were broadcast on December 13th, 2017. Ironically enough, the show is entitled, "Do You Hear What I Hear?" The only editing that I've added to this was the music playing underneath what I was actually saying. I'm going to let this play, and we'll come back and we'll discuss further on the events that have recently unfolded. And because we consider this a service, it's something that we're truly, truly passionate about. I am a product of this Southwestern Athletic Conference. I am a product of Prairie View. And yes, it is true, Prairie View produces productive people. But so does the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And I feel as if it is part of my duty to make sure that we're going to tell the story, but we're going to tell the story correctly. We're not going to bash, but sometimes when you tell the truth, it appears that you're bashing. And that is not our intent at all. We simply want to share the facts. I don't want to get caught up in the gossip and the hoopla. And as we make mention all the time, I don't care if I don't get it first. But when I deliver it, I want to deliver it to where it makes sense, even to a 2-year-old. And with that being said, there were some other major moves made and some other moves to be made. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we will make this note. Jackson State
has made a move. They have relieved Wheeler Brown of his athletic director duties, which means that Jackson State are now on the clock to get an athletic director. We know that Tony Hughes had to make a few coaching changes to help realign and adjust Jackson State's way of moving and addressing things. So now, with the athletic director being relieved of duties, is going to bring about a little bit more pressure on everybody with the next AD that comes in. And a lot of people are saying, well, who would the next AD be? PV Nation, do not be alarmed if Jackson State does not dangle a carrot in front of Ashley Robinson. Do not be alarmed. If you really look at it, it would somewhat make sense. What are you talking about now, Prince? Ashley Robinson is a young man. He is considered to be an out-the-box thinker, innovative, creative, and he happens to be from Jackson, Mississippi. We've just experienced Willie Simmons returning home. Don't you think that could be at least a considering factor of a possible return for Ashley Robinson? Yes, he played at Mississippi Valley, but his home is Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi is a good job. Jackson State is a good job. And if we're going to look at this from another business perspective, it would make all the sense in the world. I believe Ashley has completed 4 years at Prairie View. He has his resume built. His name has been floating around as one of the potential candidates to go to the Southwestern Athletic Conference Commissioner's office. So the qualifications would be there. He has familiarity with the Jackson State tradition. He definitely has familiarity with the Southwestern Athletic Conference tradition. So why wouldn't they at least talk to the brother? So PV, keep your seatbelt on. The ride might not be over just yet. So there are a lot of things that are in the air. And all it is in the air. Who knows what the next move is going to be, but don't be surprised if that is one of them. Another piece to the puzzle. Prairie View has a new president. Who knows what the vision and the direction of the new president is? You've already completed 4 years. The new president might say, well, we want to go in another direction. Makes that carrot look a little bit more tempting that would be dangling from Jackson State. There are a whole lot of uncertainties, open-ended questions that need to be filled as far as the athletic history and future of Panther sports. That's what makes all of this exciting and interesting, innovative, because no one knows. But I tell you what, we'll keep our ear to the ground and our eyes open on what develops throughout the conference, and in particular at Prairie View A&M University.
There you heard it for yourself. So if you allow me, yes, I am. I am going to take credit for calling this one, because people have a tendency to underestimate what we say on this program. For whatever reason, people have a tendency to think that we are about strife. And that is not the case. From the conception of this show, from the conception of this network, we have been about consistency, we've been about transparency, and we've been about keeping it simple and coming with logical thoughts in conversation. That is not to discredit anyone, that's not to throw anyone under the bus, but when you just stick to the truth and hang on the facts, as the old folks say, what don't come out in the wash will always come out in the rinse. And as a result, some 6 months ago, we were dead spot on. Does not mean I do not endorse Ashley Robinson. Does not mean I am anti Ashley Robinson. But I am pro Prairie View. And the charge for Mike Prince, I can only speak for myself, that I owe it to PV Nation. I owe it to Swag Nation to be as transparent as I can be. Why? Because no one else is going to tell our story the way we can tell our story. But in the method of telling our story, we must embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly if we're going to be worth mentioning. No, we're not looking for all negativity. But in anything to deal with the consistency of life, negativity is going to come up. I've been married for 28 years. I love my wife. But there are some days where there is friction between my wife and I. Doesn't mean I want to divorce her. Doesn't mean I want to leave her for another woman. But what it does mean is that she's human, I'm human, and as long as we're all human, we're going to have agreeable moments and disagreeable moments. But we still have to learn how to maneuver through them. As I mentioned on yesterday's show, I saw this coming. I'm not celebrating, nor am I sulking. It's part of the business of athletics. Gone is the day of athletic directors and coaches hanging around for 20 plus years. That day is history. It is what it is. It is the millennial way of doing things. Ashley is still a young man. And this was part of his stepping stone. You pray that both sides grow from this experience. And as both sides move forward in life, they become better people. They become better institutions, which collectively means an overall better product for the entire conference. Now, I do understand that people have personal access to grind. That's part of life too. But I can clearly and honestly tell you and anyone else who would even dare to listen, I do not have an axe to grind. There are a lot of things that I have always known. There are a lot of things that I will learn that I do not use for leverage, nor do I use for exposure. But when you know the truth and you stand on the truth, no one could ever call you out for inconsistencies. What am I trying to say? PV, we still got to move forward. Jackson State's going to move forward. The conference is going to move forward. I usually have this general rule of thought. Whenever something life-changing comes into your path, I have a rule of 48 hours. You have 48 hours to really let this thing marinate through your system and then get it out as quick as possible. Pick up the pieces and move forward. Life will continue at Prairie View, just as life will continue at Jackson. It's a matter now of where do we, as an institution, PV, go from here. It's an opportunity to look at this thing for what it really is, to analyze the direction that it's truly headed in, and to get this thing on course for the overall grand scheme of things. This is still an institution of higher learning. It's still an institution of life changing for young men and women. It's an institution of athletics. And now it's time to tie all the loose ends together to make sure that everything is on the same page. Still a lot to be determined. Still a lot to unfold. But as promised, we're going to stay on the grind. And it's not to catch somebody in an aha moment. That's not what we're about. But a side note, if you're doing your job, you don't worry about what we're doing and what we're saying, because all we want to stand on are the facts. All we want to stand on what's really happening, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. That's all we're concerned about here at the open mic. I've been around long enough, I've lived long enough to understand every day is not going to be a kumbaya moment. But it don't mean I have to run from the truth. If you really look back at this whole scenario, the handwriting was so obvious on the wall, and the only reason you didn't see it because you didn't want to see it. You didn't want to see it. And because you didn't want to see it, things have come an abrupt head to you. And then you got those who want to see it so bad. Now that it's happened, what you going to do now? Because when the dust settles, whomever the next athletic director is going to be, we, alumni, are going to have to rally and support to make the overall vision come to fruition. And that's what we're about. As a former student athlete, I know the importance of having the support, not only from the administration's points, but from former student athletes' points, from staff points, from community points. There needs to be a gathering of PV Nation. That's how we make things better. That's how we get to the next level. I'll say it again. Anyone who is about the productivity of Prairie View A&M University, any other HBC, whether it be in the SWAC, MEAC, or any other of the 100-plus HBCUs throughout the country, if you want to be about productive, logical conversation, our doors are open. Now, I've said enough for today. But before I go, I want to ask you this one question. Can you hear me now? I want you to follow me on Twitter. The handle is Radio Guy. Instagram, our handle is Radio Guy 22. The website is obn-radio.com. Our frequency in the Prairie View city limits is 87.9 FM. And if you happen to be outside the frequency, you're always in range with what we have dubbed as our low-tech app. And it's simply the phone number of 605-477-5066. Dial that number and catch what's going on at the open mic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. As always, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.